Hi, this is Jason with Overland Alberta on 4x4 Canada.
Hi, and I'm Trisha. You're one of your co-hosts on Can 4x4 Can. I said can, like a can.
Good thing I keep all these bloopers, eh?
You know, I do blooper episode. Oh shit! All right, let me go again.
You go.
I'll go. And I'm Trisha, your co-host on the 4x4 Canada
And
podcast.
I'm your other host, Wes. Jason, welcome to the 4x4 Canada podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this. You have got so much stuff going on in Alberta, between Overland Alberta, between the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo, and of course, Trails for Tommorrow. Just super excited to have you on tonight.
I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely have a couple things on the go. For sure.
Yes.
Welcome.
So before we hop into it, I want to talk quickly about a couple things. If you listeners have an event coming up, or if you know an event, hit us up on Instagram or Facebook or even our website, throw us an email, and we'll happily promote however we can. So if you've got an event poster, let us know, shoot us the JPEG or the poster of it, and we'll put it out on our Facebook and our Instagram as well. And we'll definitely try and promote as much as we can on it. I am working on a calendar on our website at 4x4canadapodcast.com. And I'm struggling a bit with it, but we are hoping to have an event calendar up on there soon. And so basically have every four-wheel drive based event across Canada on it. But yeah, shoot us an event poster and any information, and we'll get it up and on our social media and try and help you out with it. Just want to give a shout out to our show last week from the Northern Ontario Off-Road Jeep Club, NORJ. And that was a great interview with the guys up in, is it North Bay?
North
That's
Bay.
right. And
North Bay.
yeah, they got
North
some incredible amount of this, like 300 kilometers of trails just outside of North Bay there. And it was a really great conversation. And I personally don't know a lot about wheeling up in that area. It was really interesting, I found. Coming up next week, we have a young couple from True North Okanagan. Fuck me.
I can't pronounce it myself.
Okanagan. Coming up next week, we have a interview with a young couple from YouTube called True North Okanagan. They got a really neat YouTube channel and Instagram channel, and just out wheeling in their Jeep. They love the fire lookouts, as most of us BC people do, and they do a lot of really neat YouTube videos, Sugar Mountain and Cornwall and all the local hits. But they are an absolute blast to watch on YouTube. They're a funny couple. They're totally in love with each other. They have a dog that farts like you wouldn't believe and stinks up the Jeep. We talked about all of that, and to get right into it, they are a really fun, loving couple. So next week, True North Okanagan, check them out on YouTube and Instagram. But in the meantime, let's hop back to Jason from Overland Alberta. We're going to talk about three things here tonight. Overland Alberta, your YouTube channel, the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo, and Trails for Tommorrow. You got a lot going on, man.
Yeah, a couple things here and there, absolutely. And then on top of that, I also run a 4x4 shop.
Yes,
so.
yeah, you got a lot going on. But I'm happy to have you on. You were on last year with Dave from Yucatac and Blindman Overland. We talked briefly about the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo coming up on the September long weekend. And we'll get into that because you also have an event coming up soon as well, a second event, but we'll get into that in a second. But let's just roll it back and talk about Jason and how you got into the world of four-wheeling. I know you grew up exploring in four-wheeling.
Absolutely, I did. Absolutely, I did. So probably from the age of 7 years old and up, I was hitting the back trails in BC, riding with my grandpa. And then when I could drive, I was actually driving his big square body Chevy on all the back trails back in BC. So it was pretty fun. And he owned a logging company, and he did a lot of the resource roads that people call trails nowadays. So it was neat experiencing some of these trails as they were being put in and driving them when I was a teenager.
And now we're using them to even explore even more. You've mentioned you want to come out to BC and do some trail runs with us. And chances are that we're going to be running on some of those trails that you ran as a youngster.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun in that old square body.
Your Jeep is going to ride a lot smoother, I have to admit.
Yes, it will.
Big old leaf springs all the way around on the old square body. So
You betcha. Oh, yeah, you betcha. But it did the job.
yes. But you know what? It's a good old square body Chevy, so it probably won't break down like your Jeep does.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've been having that a little bit lately.
Jeep problems. Oh my
Once they're
God.
all new parts, then I should be good for another couple.
we were talking earlier off air, and Jason admitted that he had another leak show up on his Jeep. So I just got to rub it in, unfortunately. So actually, you know what? We might as well talk about your Jeep. You got a nice little Jeep going on. I have to admit, it is a nicely built Jeep, and let us fill our listeners in about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a 2014 Jeep Rubicon. And when I bought it, it was stock, basically. Started working on it from there. And it's got 4-inch lift, 35-inch tires. I've contemplated going larger, but I didn't want to replace the axles. And now that my axles are shot as of today, it looks like I'm going to be doing some chromoly axles. So I guess that excuse is out the window. I just kept going from there. And the mods that I put on were basically to support wherever I wanted to go. And it worked really well. Like, despite the fact that I've had a lot of issues with the Jeep in the last little bit, it's been 6 years of me going to King of the Hammers, going up north to the Yukon, and going all over the place with it. It's taken a lot of abuse from me with no issues.
Yeah, it's a lot of the miles on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you start getting the miles, he's bound to start having issues.
Yep. And it's all getting new parts now, so we should be good for a while.
So what have you got on it for mods besides your lift and your 35s?
Got the 4-inch lift, got the 35s. I've got a rack from Rugged Ridge that has its own soft top built into it. Oh. And so what it is, I can have a load on top of the Jeep, and the soft top runs on rails underneath it, so I can fully retract the soft top while I have whatever load on top. So good and bad. It's the best rack I think I've seen for a JK because it bolts right to the tub. It's solid. Like I think I can lift the whole Jeep with the rack and it wouldn't be a big issue. But it's got the world's worst soft top. So I had a soft top on it before, the factory soft top. And this one is noisy. That's the first thing everybody tells me when they come for a ride with me. Oh man, this thing is noisy. So it's good and bad. I don't know. I might go to a hard top here in the future, but first I got to make sure I get the axles and everything replaced.
Exactly. What are you running for a winch on that?
I've got a Smittybilt winch.
Yep.
And that thing has actually done me all 6 years. So it's done really good. I've never put a winch cover on it and smacked my hand, whatever. But it's run for 6 years, no issues, and I use it quite a bit every year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They're a decent winch for the price of them. I got a lot of friends that run them, and they've had no issues as well, too. And I think that's what you're running, too, isn't it, Trisha?
Yeah, that's what I'm running. Yeah, the Smittybilt.
Yep. And then I've got the bulletproof bumpers on it, which are awesome. I used to work for Bulletproof, so that's where that connection comes in. And they're awesome bumpers. Like I've hit trees, rocks. I've had cars hit me. And yeah, they've held up. I just take one of those Mr. Clean magic erasers and take the paint off and, oh, look, it looks brand new again. So I actually, at work, I had somebody actually 2 days ago back into my Jeep, crunched their tailgate in, but I just, again, Mr. Magic Eraser took the paint off. Pretty happy I went with those bumpers. It saved me a lot of damage.
No doubt. Now, you've also been running a Dodge Ram as well, too, right?
You betcha. I've got a 2019 Ram Warlock. And
yeah, I saw that. It's like,
it's a good truck. I can't complain. It's for the most part just stock. Warlocks came with an inch lift from stock. So you can run 35s on them as long as you got stock offset rims on them.
Yeah.
You can run 35s and away you go. So I've been pretty happy with it. It's been a really good truck. Yeah,
it's nice to have an option, right? So if you want to go to Calgary or something like that and you don't want the wind noise of your Jeep,
or like right now where I happen to be doing some axles, I still got a vehicle to drive.
Exactly. Which one's better on fuel mileage?
It used to be the Jeep until the motor blew. And we rebuilt the motor. The motor is no longer as fuel efficient as it was. So now the Ram Warlock is the most fuel efficient. And it's got the 393 gear, so in town it's not really that fuel efficient. So yeah, the Ram is the most fuel efficient right now. But That said, the Jeep 36 is going to be coming out, and I'm going to be doing an LS swap. I'm just saving my pennies for that one.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. It's funny how much a V8 in a Jeep, it doesn't have to work as much, and the fuel mileage actually gets better. Right. You know, I did that in my YJ years ago. I went from a 4-cylinder YJ and put a small block in it, and it was a 400 to 500 horsepower small block Chevy in it, and I got way better gas mileage than I did with a 4-cylinder.
Absolutely. I totally get it. I used to run a little 4-cylinder YJ, so I get it.
They are not fuel economy at all. So
Nope.
you're in the Red Deer area, right?
You bet.
Yeah. So what's fuel sitting around?
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, it's somewhere like $1.62 the last time I looked. Costco, which is always the cheapest in town, it seems, was down at $1.50 something.
Okay, so
and then so there's a couple towns in Alberta that the fuel is always cheaper. So I use it as an excuse to go, and then I fuel up, and then I probably come back with only half a tank anyway, but it's still a fun trip.
It's worth a road trip.
Exactly. So yeah, if you head over to Leduc or Drayton Valley, their fuel is always cheaper.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're sitting around $1.70, I think, right now, something like that. And you're around that area too, right, Trish?
Right now we're 162.
Not bad.
But it's so weird because ours goes so drastically. I don't know why, but in the morning when I leave in the morning, it's probably gonna be 175 ish. I don't know why. I'll be going to work and like, 175, 179, and then like at night it's 162.
I've been noticing certain gas stations throughout the day are changing their prices. It seems to be a trend that's happening. Not so much in Red Deer, but I see it in the bigger cities a lot more.
Yeah, I don't know why. But yeah.
At least we're not in the lower mainland of Vancouver where they're hitting around $2 a liter, right?
I know. Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that's what we get for living in the lower mainland. Sorry, guys. So what is up with Overland Alberta? What made you decide to start a YouTube channel?
A couple of things. I love exploring. I've done it since I was a kid. My grandpa taking me out everywhere, going to really cool places that nobody ever thought to go at the time, really started it. I grew up on a Texas longhorn ranch, so I'd go out on a horse for sometimes days at a time, checking fence lines and everything else. I love the backwoods. I absolutely love them. And then to start Overland Alberta, I love taking pictures. I love the backwoods. And I love making videos. So it was just a natural thing to just get together and start making videos.
You've been doing it for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, a few years. Yeah, since 2019. So.
Okay, so a few years, yeah. So, our listeners, if you haven't watched a Overland Alberta video, you got to go check it out on YouTube. Lots of great stuff about four-wheeling in Alberta, and as well as not in Alberta, right? You've done some videos of your trips to other places and that as well, too, over the years. So yeah, definitely go check out Overland Alberta on the YouTube.
So that's the perfect way to tell what generation you're from. It's like, hey, have you seen the Facebook lately?
Have you been on the Instagram?
Yeah, exactly.
As a millennial, laughs her ass off.
True, they do it.
So I know a lot of your stuff is about exploring it, whether it be going out to Ghost or going out to Ruby Falls or any of those areas that are popular in Alberta. Is that sort of your main focus with the channel?
So I love exploring. I love getting out there. There's some areas that I absolutely am going to explore some more. Northern Alberta has such amazing trails and views and lakes and everything. I got to get up there a lot more. When we did the Four Corners, Dave and I, we did the Four Corners expedition. We went to the Four Corners of Alberta doing back roads and just exploring. We didn't really have a plan. We were just like, okay, let's take this road and see where it goes. And, oh, look at this. There's an unmarked road here, an unmarked trail. Let's take it. And it was amazing, the stuff that we had seen, because we're going in areas that people normally don't drive. And probably the place that surprised me the most, because I lived so much in the mountains a lot, was southeastern Alberta. Because you'd be driving on hills like Montana, grand hills, and all of a sudden you'd see this epic ranch house and everything. just in the middle of this valley as you come up and peek down and come down that you never would have seen otherwise. But it looks like it came right out of some sort of Western movie.
So
Stuff
cool.
down that was down there, it just blew my mind. And then I've been in Montana a little bit too, so it's just an extension of the prairie part of Montana. And yeah, it was definitely pretty cool. There's not a lot of crown land per se. That's a lot of that is privately owned land, but where you could go was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and they got some pretty good, I believe they call them coulees down there as well too.
Mm-hmm.
These little canyons, for lack of better terms, and there's some interesting trails down through there too. We did a little bit of racing down there, and which is cool. It looks all flat, and then all of a sudden it just drops off into this little valley, right? So it's really neat area down there.
One of the coolest spots down there was Red Rock Coulee. And you drive into it, and you can see the Sweetgrass Mountains on the other side of the border from the Red Rock Coulee. And it's neat. You can see in the distance these mountains, and then there's these huge red boulders all around you.
Yeah.
And that was pretty amazing. It was literally like something out of Lord of the Rings. It was pretty cool.
And then speaking of north, I got to give a shout out to our friends up at Mud Buds up in there in the sort of the northwest, I guess, of Alberta. And they've got some great wheeling videos as well too. And I don't know if you've wheeled with them before or not, but they've got some really neat trails up in that area too.
Christine does some pretty cool stuff. Christine and her husband and the whole Mud Buds crew, they definitely get out and have a lot of fun. They have their event every year too, the MAC event.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, they do some fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So sticking with this whole overlanding thing, and I don't know, like overlanding means a different thing to so many people, right? It's hard. Some people say, oh, you got to travel for a certain amount of days, or you got to travel, over borders, or it's just vehicle-based camping, and everybody has their own terminology for it. But what does overlanding mean to you, and why do you enjoy it so much?
That is a diverse and very interesting question that sometimes erupts on the forums and creates all sorts of opinions. Really, you go by the actual designation. It's the travel to get to somewhere, right? You're going exploring, essentially, is what it means. So if you're out there exploring, camping's part of it. If you go on an e-bike or you go on a 4x4, it doesn't matter. You're still in that kind of overlanding thing. I've ridden horses all across central BC. We camped in the middle of nowhere, bring my tent with me, and away you go. To me, it's the exploring, getting out there and seeing the sights that you will never see on your couch. You get out there and experience those mountains, experience those lakes, experience the bear encounters that you weren't expecting. All of that is all part of it.
Yes, we definitely have our bears over here. I actually saw one about 2 weeks ago when I was out, and little big black bear. So yeah.
Aww.
So it's funny. I used to live in Bella Coola, and that's on the West Coast, and that is central grizzly country out there. So whenever you were out there hiking or doing anything, you had to really watch it because they're everywhere. If you didn't see them, they still saw you somehow. So
yeah, that's an area I'd love to. I haven't been over there. I'd just love to go there. It's just, and obviously take back roads to get there. Everything I've heard and everything I've seen about Bella Coola is just absolutely incredible to me.
Let me know when you want to go. Let's plan a trip. Let's do it. I used to live there. I used to live minutes away from absolutely epic falls.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We got to hook up because I've always loved all the pictures and everything I've heard about it. Just seems like a magical place. So
it is. And the whole Caribou to get out there is full of just absolutely amazing places.
Yeah.
So there's trails that I can show you out there that would just blow your mind.
So Tricia, you got to come out to the West Coast.
I clearly do. So much nice, good wheeling out there or overlanding. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I've heard there's some pretty good stuff out in Ontario.
Yes, there is, but we don't have the mountains, the hills, so nice backwoods scenery. We do have backwoods here, but our trails end at certain points from like Crown Land. So if you're going way up north, then it gets more tricky. But yeah, BC, I think BC and Alberta.
I'm gonna go out on the limb here and admit something that I think Tricia actually does more wheeling than I do. Because I camp a
you
lot
camp?
and I do a lot of Forest Service roads and I do a lot of Forest Service roads that may need 4-wheel drive, but you are out there in
Yeah.
first and low more often than I am.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a bit of a difference between, he's got a lot of good wheeling trails, and as does Alberta as well. But there's a lot of Forest Service roads to get to them. So but I honestly think that you do more actual wheeling than I do. So
yeah, like we have logging roads too. There's some trails that like you can take some logger roads or in between, but yeah, I think most of the trails that I do, it's just straight. Yeah, it's just straight wheeling. I don't really see people take any kind of like rooftop tents and overlanding on them. They're just like going to wheel. So I guess, yeah, that is a bit of a difference.
It's funny you should say that, because
Definitely, yeah.
just recently I've gotten rid of the rooftop tent and I've gone to a gazelle tent, which sits inside because of how tippy it would be on certain trails. I do like to do the back trails. I love going. And if you have a rooftop tent, you definitely feel those off camber moments a little bit more. And that was my whole decision to go to a gazelle tent from a rooftop tent, was that, and I have a dog and it's easier to get the dog in the gazelle. But yeah, 100% it makes a difference when you're on those type of trails.
You guys in Alberta got some of those cut line roads that are epic, and they're washed out. I used to do them when I was living in Calgary back in around 2000. So I can only imagine how much rougher they are now as they've been washed out and that. So you guys have some really epic cut line roads.
There's some awesome V-notch trails that are pretty awesome. But actually, my favorite one is in central BC, in central Alberta. And yeah, it is definitely very technical. So you have to watch how you get through, or you can land on the side.
Yeah, no matter where you look, I think you can find trails. It all depends on what you're into. But I know a lot of my friends they're not doing the 40s and stuff like that anymore. They're going back to the 35s, and because that's just more of what's in this area.
And that's a really good point, because for a lot of people, 33 to 35 inch tires is going to be more than adequate for what they want to do. Unless you're rock crawling or doing those V notches, you really don't need anything a lot larger. So it comes down to what you're going to do with your vehicle, right? So
you have to look at it if it's your daily driver and you're going to the trails. And you and I were talking earlier, Jason, off air, that talking about Australia, and most of the vehicles only have a 2-inch lift, and some of the stuff that they're doing is pretty impressive, right? So you take a look, all Africa or people in South America, it seems to be North America seems to be really the ones that are pushing these big 38s, 40s, 42s. And whereas the rest of the world is wheeling with stockish size tires, right?
100%. I like actually seeing a guy with a small tire go in the same area as a guy with a 40 just went through, because he's got to work twice as hard to get there. And I think it adds a little bit more of a fun challenge to it.
Yeah.
The 40s do take a lot of the challenge out of it. It just means you can take on more challenge too. But yeah, I love watching somebody who has a rig that's maybe not quite as capable do something that those guys with the 40s are doing. It's fun to watch them, and you're always cheering for them, right?
And our listeners, they're probably tired of Trish and I saying this, but we all believe that when you get a new vehicle, you should wheel it stock for 6 months and learn the vehicle. And if you can wheel a stock vehicle, then put your mods on after, but it just makes you that much of a better driver.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely. Yeah. I saw a guy with a stock, a Chevy S10 a few years back. He was going places that he shouldn't have been going, but was also killing that vehicle at the same time.
True.
But,
True.
Agreed.
So let's just roll back to the Overland Alberta. I want to also mention that you have the Overland Alberta Facebook group, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe you can give the rundown of that.
So we got the Overland Alberta Facebook group, bunch of really good enthusiasts in there, really good people, a lot of knowledge. And it's doing its nice growth over the years. And then we've got the Instagram as well. And then I'll usually throw up pictures from recent trips and everything up on the Instagram.
Yeah, it's a busy group.
How big is it?
7,500, I think.
Yeah, 70. Yeah, in the 7,500 range.
Up in that area.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's a busy group for sure.
It's nice to see somebody go on there, ask a question, and a whole bunch of people jump in and help them out. It's really cool to see that. It's a good community.
What is the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo? And tell us, what's the hype about? When is it? Part of the year?
So This year in 2024, the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo, our main expo, is going to be between August and September, the September long weekend, which kind of bridges. So you got the 29th and 30th, and then the 1st and the 2nd of September. And that'll be the main event. This will be the 4th year that we put it on. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a good community. A lot of people come out, lots of good courses. But in 2024, we're also in the 11th. We have a pop-up event out in Rocky Mountain House. And that event it's just a lot of vendors that are coming. We're not doing a lot of the courses and stuff we do at the fall event, but basically a lot of the vendors are coming out to show everything before May Long, because May Long is when everyone wants to take their stuff out. So it was the perfect time to put it on. And we're doing it at the Rival Trade Brewery in Rocky Mountain House. We were considering doing a spring event, and they had said, hey, do you guys think you could do something out here? So it was a perfect pairing. And Rival Trade has always come out to our expo in the fall anyway as a vendor, and they're the ones that brew the expo beer for us. So yeah, it was just a perfect pairing.
Beer and overlanding, you can't really go wrong with that, right?
Oh, exactly.
So which of their beer is your favorite?
They've got a few different types. I probably have about 5 or 6 of my favorites. But I'm going to have to say they've got a really cool stout that's really good. And I'm not really a big stout guy usually, but man, I love that stout.
Nice. Shout out to Rival Trade and their stout beer.
It's really good.
So let's hop back. Like the May event is going to be, really neat. And I think it's something different that we haven't seen before. But let's talk about your September event. That has been your main event for, say, 4 years now. And I know it's on a beautiful piece of property. I haven't had a chance to make it up, but I know I am working to attend this year. But it's on a beautiful piece of property. And it's just a nice big expo. Everything I've seen from photos and videos, and it just seems like a really good time.
Absolutely. It is, for lack of better words, a really good community. People love going out there. There's people that plan their whole vacation around the event now. They're like, okay, what days do I need to take off work? Okay, perfect. We're bringing the whole family. So it's really good to see that people enjoy it so much. Yeah. And that was just it. We wanted to really do a good community event. So typically we've done it over the long weekend all the time, September long. But this year we're expanding it out a little bit more. So we'll have actual potential courses and everything on the Friday as well as the Monday. So Friday was usually just set up for vendors, and Monday was pack up and see you later. But in the morning and in the evening on Fridays, we're planning more events just to try and fulfill the needs of all the happy campers that come out.
So where is the event?
It's in between Edson and Hinton.
Yep.
It's on family land, actually. So my cousin owns the land. It's got 5 man-made lakes that 3 of the lakes are stocked with trout, so you can go fishing. It's 80 plus acres. So it is a true outdoor event. When you go there to camp, and I've had comments like, hey, maybe you should have all the campers closer together because then we can actually see how many people are here. The thing is, people like camping where there's nobody around them, and you can do that here. So you can go camping in the trees. You can go camping right beside one of the lakes if you want. There's big open areas. So if you want to bring a big, huge triple axle trailer, there's room to park it. And there's camping by the river that goes right by the site as well. So there's just a lot of places you can go and camp and have fun.
And what does a normal day look like? Is it where people can go out and do their trail rides and then come back? And then do you guys have events going on during the evening?
Yeah, typically what we do is we have events that run all day long. There's a trail run on Saturday and a trail run on Sunday as well. And so if you want to partake in that, means you might miss a couple of the events at the expo. So you got to prioritize what you want to do. We have usually 2 events running at the same time. And so, yeah, you have to pick and choose what you want to do. And a lot of those events are pretty cool. This year, we're going to have our driver training there doing recovery courses. We've had them there in the past. They weren't there last year, but they were there the previous 2 years. And it's amazing the knowledge those guys have. So if you go to one of their courses, you're going to walk away with some knowledge. So it's really cool. We've had cooking courses. We've had photography courses, first aid and safety courses where you walk away with a Stop the Bleed certificate. And yeah, just a lot of fun stuff happening. And so, yeah, you have to pick what you want to do and go for it.
Those are some good courses. I would.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I think, one of the biggest complaints from people is I can't do it all. And that's a good complaint because it means that we've got enough to interest everybody. But if you didn't catch it this year, maybe you'll catch it next year.
Next year, yeah. I love how it's right by the lakes, and then you have 5 lakes. That's amazing.
It is really cool, actually. It's, like I say, it's family land, so it's been in the family for generations. And yeah, it is a very cool area. I used to play on these grounds when I was a kid. And when Dave and I were kind of coming up with the idea of the expo, we're like, where do we do it? I happened to that weekend go out to, they hold the Medicine Lodge Rodeo out there. And they're the rodeo grounds. And they had 10,000 plus people at the rodeo. And I'm looking around. I'm the only guy in the rooftop tent, and all these cowboys are in their big, huge trailers and everything. And I'm looking around going, yep, I just found their spot.
Wow.
And it's nice because it is close to BC as well. And you guys get a lot of BC people coming up too.
It's really well supported from BC. Big shout out to everyone from BC. Thank you very much. I love seeing everybody come out. And we've had people come all the way from like Montana, actually from Eastern Canada, from, I think it was Nova Scotia. Somebody came out. We've seen people from all over. And it's neat when you see different areas represented at the expo. It's cool to meet those people. It's humbling, actually, that they prioritize their schedule to come to this event. Big shout out to all those people that traveled all those miles.
There's no excuse, Tricia. I'll pick you up at the airport in Edmonton. One of the other things I really like about the event too is it's very reasonably priced.
That was one of our key things because we want families to come. If you have a family of 5 or 6 kids, what event can you go to anymore? Yep. It's everything's so overpriced. So we wanted to keep it family friendly. Anybody under the age of adulthood is free.
Yep.
Bring your family. This is what it's for. Come bring your family. We got bouncy toys for people to play on. Come on down.
Adults included?
I'm sorry?
Adults included in the bouncy castle?
I'm sure you could. You might bounce a couple kids off the backside, but yeah.
Pair that up and put the beer guy right beside it and you're all set, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. We can get into trouble with that one.
But yeah, definitely very friendly environment for the kids as well too. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have set prices on it for this year or not, but what were the prices looking at for like with last year?
Last year, it was basically $50 per person for a camping pass. You can't camp at any campground for 3 or 4 days for $50, let alone have first aid and safety courses and driver training courses and everything else. Where are you going to go? That's all included in your $50 pass. It's very inexpensive. And that was the whole point of doing it, was to make it so that people want to come out.
And that's the thing too. I'm looking at traveling 9 hours or whatever it is for me, but I don't want to pay $200 or $250 addition to all my gas that I'm going to be spending going there and back. A low entry fee or admittance fee is definitely
that's been so we have weekly expo meetings between Dave, Courtney, my wife, and myself. Yeah. And that's been a heated debate sometimes, as we need to increase the price, but we want to keep it affordable. And we've talked hours upon hours about it. With the way prices are, we may have to bump admission prices to cover stuff.
Yeah.
But we still want to keep it affordable.
Even if you bump it up to $75 or something like that, it's still very reasonable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what we want to do. We want to keep it reasonable and a good event you can plan your family trip around.
Yeah, exactly. I've done events like this before, and I know what the insurance costs are alone. Just never mind all the other stuff. So
yeah,
I totally get it. I do appreciate you guys trying to keep it as low as possible for the people.
It's funny because I do get remarks like, oh man, you guys must rake in a lot of money from the expo. And I'm like, not as much as you would think, because there's always bills that come in after the event. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah.
You know what? We're having fun with it. Now that we're in our 4th year, we're pretty established. We're getting way better at knowing what to expect. And moving forward. And I think growing it from this point forward is going to be a lot of fun.
And one thing I want to mention too, it's not an overlanding event, right? From my understanding, what you guys are trying to encompass is the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo. So it's not just overlanding.
That's correct. It encompasses everybody. So people who want to get out hiking, people who they enjoy the same mountains and lakes and everything that we enjoy. This is the one weekend everyone who does different things can come together and have some fun together. Yeah. And that's how we really bill it. We've had bike packing courses. Before the expo was around, I didn't even know what bike packing was. So now I know what bike packing is and I want to try it. We've had paddleboard courses and people on the little lakes doing paddleboard courses. We've had fishing courses from a lot of people coming out. And because we have lakes that you can fish at, you can go out there and have some fun. It was neat. So one of the guys that was there 2 years ago, I believe, he was Cabela's pro fisherman. And he came out to put on the course and everything. He came out with a big, huge bass boat and everything. And yeah, it was just neat to see. And the stuff you can learn from these guys are pretty awesome. And another one one of our more popular ones, I would say, would be Robert Edwards. He was one of the contestants in the Alone series. And he came out and did a whole bunch of bushcrafting courses. And there was always crowds going for his courses. It's just a lot of fun. And I think it's good to see people learn, have fun, check out everybody else's rigs, because there's some pretty cool rigs that show up, and look at all the vendors.
And you guys have captured somehow a Sasquatch for this event this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a big fight.
Big battle.
Actually, we've had a Sasquatch at every event. It's just this year we're promoting Sammy a little bit more.
The fame is going to his head now, right?
Yeah, it is. So what was really funny, we were shooting some photos of Sammy here for some advertising that we're going to be doing for the events. And we're down by a lake, and all of a sudden this old Chinese lady comes walking by, and she looks a little scared. So we're like, oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. And she walks by, and she walks down the trail, and she turns around. She watches us for a while as we're taking pictures and stuff. And then she comes back and she goes, can I have a picture with him? We're like, absolutely. So I guess before she went on the walk, her children said, be careful. There's bears out there. You don't want to run into bears. So now she's going back with a picture of her and a Sasquatch. So it was really cool, actually. So yeah, we've captured a Sasquatch, and we're definitely going to be having some fun with that.
Oh my gosh. This sounds like so much fun. I want to come down one year. That'd be bring all my fishing gear, go fishing, hiking,
and
do whatever.
There is companies over here that do the rent a vehicle with a rooftop tent as well too. So
and
true.
Actually there are.
I was thinking, even if I didn't want to take my Jeep, I can always drive an RV, which we've done before, and then just park an RV there and take the RV across.
Yep, absolutely.
I have a little 2-man tent I can lend you. One of those little tiny ones.
I have a little tiny 2-man tent. That's like the only one I can build by myself. And then I have a huge, we call it the mansion. It's like a 10-person tent, and it has 3 rooms in it for only 2 people that usually use it. But it takes so long to set up. So
check out those gazelle tents.
2-man tents. Pretty handy.
I was just going to say, you got to check out the gazelles for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you a funny story about how the expo came about. So Dave and I had done the Four Corners expedition, and the following year we decided to do a podcast. So we were pre-recording a bunch of episodes to upload, and we had 15 or 20 episodes ready to go. And we were going to upload and do the podcast thing. And we're all excited about it. Dave's hard drive crashed, and we lost them all. No backup. They were all gone. So all that effort went down the drain, and we're sitting there. We're a little bit deflated. I guess is the best way to say it. And Dave and I, we actually met at the BC Overland Rally, and we're like, why is there nothing like this out here? My wife was saying the same thing. We went to the Northwest Overland Rally, and we're like, why is nothing like this being held in Alberta? So we were having those conversations before we started the podcast. And then when this all happened, actually, we did a kind of a Overland Alberta event as well that mimicked, I guess, we're trying to float it, see how the whole thing would go. And I had a gentleman there who has done lots of 4x4 events in the past, Kevin from the High Riders.
Yep.
And so he comes up and he goes, you got to do this event. So he was one of my inspirations to do it. And then Dave and I were sitting there after looking at the hard drive that just crashed and being really deflated. And then he goes, what are we going to do this year then? Because we just lost all our podcasts. And why don't we do an expo, right? So both Dave and I almost at the same time said, do you want to do an expo? And that's how it came about from a failed podcast.
It was funny after you guys told me that story last year when we're talking. And now I have everything backed up to 3 different places now.
That's a really great thing. Speaking from experience.
Exactly. I've got it on a cloud. I've got it on a hard drive, remote hard drive, and my laptop.
Yeah, we had put a lot of hours into getting all those episodes, a lot of guest speakers and everything. And yeah, it's cool.
But hey, something came great to come from it now. You guys have some event.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good.
Exactly. And this podcast, For Before Canada podcast, probably wouldn't happen if you guys were doing yours. So there's 2 good things that came out of it.
We had a lot of really good interviews. Mark, who used to own Mission Overland trailers.
Yep.
I think he still owns Mission Overland, but he also used to own off-grid trailers as well. He has a lot of amazing travel stories where he's in South America doing some travel. He's got some amazing stories. He went down there with a Dodge Ram with a camper in it. And yeah, so we had a lot of really good episodes filmed with him just telling us some of the really cool things that happened in South America. And yeah, I wish I could bring that back.
Definitely. So just so our listeners who are not aware, who is Dave?
So Dave, he's a really good friend. And we started the expo together. He actually worked for Mark at Mission. Yep. And then when Mission, of course, moved out of Alberta, Dave then started up Yucca Campers. So he had all this experience making Mission Overland trailers. So he knows how to make a super great product. So it was a natural jump for him to do Yucca Campers. And I'm so proud of him, actually. I'm really proud of that guy. He's done really good. And as far as Dave, him and I have gone on so many adventures. 2 peas in a pod, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, Dave is basically the guy who created Yucca Campers. And yeah, he's my business partner in the expo. I'm really happy to have him as my business partner.
He is such a nice guy as well as yourself too. But yeah, I've spent some time with Dave and he's such a nice guy and such a hard worker. And so definitely I want to get him on the podcast here as well. But in the meantime, Yucca Campers, if you guys haven't heard about it, go check it out. Blind Man Overland is also his thing. And it's not because he's half blind, although he does wear big glasses, but it's actually from the Blind Man River area that he grew up in. But yeah, super nice guy. You couldn't ask for a nicer guy.
He's really getting into fishing right now. So he's changed the name slightly to Blind Man Outdoors for his YouTube channel.
Perfect.
But yeah, great guy.
Yeah. Although he drives a Nissan. I have to admit that I started watching him when I had my Xterra, and that's when I got following Dave with his Nissan Frontier and before the Yucca thing came along. But yeah, he's got a nice truck. He's doing a great job with the Yucca, and you guys are doing a great job with the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo. But it's not just you guys there either. You guys have an incredible crew behind you guys at the expo.
Oh, 100%. We couldn't do it without the volunteers that support us. And we have so much fun. The volunteers are amazing people. They love this community just as much as we do. And it's good to see that passion translated into the expo. So it's, a whole bunch of people that honestly, this event wouldn't happen without them.
Definitely. What's your favorite aspect of the expo?
The community, by far the community. When you can go from campsite to campsite and talk to everybody, and everyone has their own cool stories and their own cool places that they visited, whether or not it was by a quad or a bike or a horse or whatever, they all have their own cool stories. It's neat to see that. And just to see other people's rigs and how they have them set up. That's pretty cool. I love that. That's probably the community and the rigs and the whole bringing of everybody together. That's my favorite part.
I have to admit, shout out to G from BC, GEE from BC on YouTube. He's been up to your event a few times and he's done some rig walk around videos at your event. And so shout out to G. Hopefully he's coming back up this year. I know he's driving his Ford more than his Jeep, it seems. But yeah, hopefully he comes back up because he's done some really neat walk around videos for sure.
I don't know if he's driving as much as he's jumping. Have you seen the latest video, Ed? Looks like he's got the front end of that Ford pretty high. So. And G, this is to you, buddy. I can't wait to see you again, man. Come on out.
Another great guy that we've had on the podcast in the past. He's definitely a super nice guy as well too.
Let's talk about Trails for Tomorrow. So a few weeks ago, just had an interview with Bill from Trails of Tomorrow, and we want to talk a little about the group. So can you fill us in about that? What is about Trails for Tomorrow?
So I want my kids to be able to run trails, and I want their kids to be able to run trails. And we have to look at it as basically a community approach on this. People who hike, people who go out fishing, people who do different sports other than us, whether they're driving their single tracks or their quads or whatever, they still need those trails to get to where they want to go. And so that's where having a good liaison with everybody who uses the same mountain. It's a very similar aspect as what we have the Expo. Is we all use the same mountain. Let's work together. Trails for Tommorrow is a really great group of people. Bill is amazing. He works so hard running Crave, but still finds enough time to put his heart and soul into Trails for Tommorrow. And so he's a really good example to follow. And then the trail reps that we have everyone is just as passionate about these trails as everybody else. And it's good to see that we actually have a Alberta-based group that is doing this now, because I think for many years, because of that lack of representation, it got forgotten about. And when new bridges were put in, they may not have fit full-size rigs. There's just been a lot of animosity in the past in Alberta. And it's good to see passionate people moving forward, trying to create a trail that's sustainable and whatever we can do to make sure it stays that way. So yeah, really good bunch of people. And I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
A couple of things I did want to mention after talking with Bill and for a bit there last week is that, and you touched base on it, but the fact that it's not just a 4x4 association, and it is working together with all the other users, and some of your members may be quad members or they may be mountain bikers or whatever. And it's not just geared towards that 4x4 crowd. You definitely have a lot of people that are involved in the 4x4 scene as well. But it's nice to see that you guys are working together with even your own members that are other users as well as other user groups, which is key.
Absolutely. Like one of our trail reps is one of the northern trail reps for Athabasca. He's done a lot of these trails on horseback. He knows those areas like the back of his hand. He's been all the way across the Rockies on his horses already. So it's great to have that aspect in. He wants to make sure these trails stay viable for everybody as well. And he's done it on more than just a 4x4. He's done it on horses. He's done it on a bunch of other things. And yeah, it's good to have that experience and that passion.
Yep. One thing that Vil did mention, and him and I have actually talked off air about it quite a bit. First thing is that you guys have a new website coming up that will be hopefully around the beginning of June, I believe.
It is coming up very soon.
Yeah, and we will be promoting that as much as possible as soon as that new website gets up. And on that new website, people can join up as individual members, which I think is a key thing as well. There's still lots of clubs out there, but the individual memberships, I think, is definitely the way to go. When you're working with different organizations and different government bodies, having a strong number behind you gives you that much more, not say pull, or clout, but it just, you have that security behind you. They say, oh, I didn't know you guys had that many people in that area or whatever. Definitely when the website becomes live, the new website becomes live, definitely recommend people joining up. It's a decent fee. I can't remember offhand what it's going to be, but we'll be promoting it as much as possible because we truly believe in what you guys are doing.
We appreciate that because we need all the community support that we can get. The more support we can get, the more things we can accomplish in the long run.
Yep. Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to the other organizations like yours in the other provinces, the Four-Wheel Drive Association of BC, the Ontario OF4 in Ontario. They're doing a wonderful job as well too. So if you do have an organization like that in your area, so maybe you're in Ontario, whether you're BC or Alberta with T for T, I definitely recommend joining up. It might be $40 or $50 or whatever the membership is for that organization, but it's worth that. You spend more than that going to McDonald's, right? So these organizations are out there working to keep the land or keep the trails open for you to use and for your children to use in the future. $40 a year, $50 a year, whatever it is, totally worth spending to help these organizations. Because there's insurance costs, there's all kinds of maintenance costs, there's all kinds of hidden fees behind or hidden costs behind that we don't all see. It's not just all going to Jason's not making millions off of this. Jason's volunteering a lot of time to this. But yeah, definitely shout out to those other associations, wherever you are in this wonderful land of ours. Join up to your local association, and it just helps. The numbers really help them.
Numbers are really awesome. That's really the big thing. That's what the government's looking for too.
Yeah.
They want as many people as possible. How many people are going to come out to your event? They ask those questions.
Yep.
It is a very important thing. And if just taking a page out of the BC Four-Wheel Drive Association, they've done a great job on membership. And whenever I go to BC, I see those t-shirts everywhere. They've done an amazing job. And then when they have a trail cleanup or they have something, you can see it's really well supported. And yeah, definitely community support.
Yep. But they've also been doing it for years. That association started in like 1978 right here in Kamloops. But there's generations in there. My parents were involved in it and I got involved in it. And so there's generations, whereas you guys are coming along a little bit later to the game, but with the same enthusiasm. And that's what it takes, is enthusiasm and some support from the members in the Four-Wheel Drive community.
One thing I've definitely noticed is it's a long build.
Yeah.
We're not going to see big results fast. And that's where the community support comes in.
Yep. You are dealing with government after all. Tricia, I rambled on there. What do you got? Have you got any?
You have a question here that's interesting. It's a random question, but I'm going to ask it. What's your favorite time of the year?
My favorite time of the year.
Now, being in Alberta, and I've learned in Alberta, in Calgary, it's cold as hell in the winter. So I don't know if you like winter wheeling. I hope not.
If you watch my YouTube channel, you'll see -40 camping videos.
No, I remember those days. No, I don't relive
I love it. I love winter. It's awesome because you can go out camping somewhere and you're not going to see a single soul out there. Love it. But I have to say my favorite time is late fall.
Yeah.
Just when it's getting cold, no bugs, but during the daytime, it's still really nice and warm. You can hit a trail and it's beautiful and sunny. Yeah. I would say late fall.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Trees are turning colors and late fall my go-to as well too.
And you can still hit the alpine areas before the snow, like just before it starts snowing.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to talk about besides our last question?
I've been trying to catch up on all the 4x4 Canada podcast episodes. It's awesome. It's great to see you growing. It's great to see you getting out there, and a lot of the people I'm seeing on there, really cool things that I'm learning as well. Yeah, keep up the good work. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing I want to say to you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It's definitely a lot of work, as Tricia learned when she became a host. And it's not just sitting here talking. But we definitely appreciate input like that. And it makes it rewarding, right? We don't make any money off this. I'm losing money on it. And to hear comments like that, it's funny. There was a comment on our Instagram today from a gentleman who was looking so forward to hearing the interview with Vil. And so we appreciate comments like that. And of course, we also like constructive criticism too, as well. So if anybody wants to fill us in on what we're doing wrong,
just make sure you have lots of backup.
Exactly. Oh, it's stored. It's stored 3 places,
It's
man.
stored, yeah. It's funny because I had I think it was my GoPro, just backup recording a couple episodes. And I have some of that material still. And some of it is absolutely hilarious.
Nice.
So,
I'd love to see it sometime, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm still debating whether or not I want to put it on YouTube. But
if I make it over to the Expo this year, then you have to set me up and we can watch it there around a beer.
Absolutely. Do you want to do a live event from the Expo?
I thought about that. I've thought about that. I got to figure my schedule out. But that is something I have been, Mike and I were actually talking about that when we were camping a couple weeks ago. And yeah, we did talk about,
I'll have a Starlink there, so we'll have good internet access.
That would be cool.
If you want to do
4x4 Canada podcast live from the Alberta Outdoor Venture Expo.
Nice.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, definitely interesting for sure.
So I always ask everyone, especially Jeep owners, have you named your Jeep? Or have you named any Jeeps in the past?
In the past, yes. So my first Jeep was a 1978 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And it was, I called him Mr. Green because it was green with the wood panels.
Nice.
It was the Cherokee Chief is what it was, with the 360, and still wish I had that Jeep. I just kick myself every day for getting rid of it. And I have, like the Warlock, we've named it Bandit. And for the longest time, 6 years now, I've called the Rubicon because the name was already on the hood. But recently I've decided to actually change the name of the Jeep, and I'm going to call it Maverick from here on out.
Nice.
There's a couple reasons. Everyone said my name Rubicon was just not very imaginative. Okay, fair enough. But for the Expo, we have sponsor packages coming out soon. And our top tier sponsor package is going to be the Maverick package. So I was like, I need to rename the Jeeps. Why not name it Maverick? It fits. And it's going to be Maverick.
I like it. I like it.
Works for me.
Yeah, I like it. Maverick.
But it was Rubicon for the longest time.
How boring is that?
Ruby, the Rubicon.
Right?
I like that. All right. And then the last question we ask every guest is, what Canadian we like to listen to on the 4x4 Canada podcast?
So I put a lot of thought into this one. So I'm going to start off with the OG YouTuber, and that's Cappy 410 Expedition. He's got stories, and he's an awesome guy. Yep. He's got a ton of stories. He's a great guy. He's one guy I would love to see on the podcast. The other one is my inspiration for starting the Expo, Kevin from the High Riders Association. And he has he used to do the 4x4 events, right?
Yep.
It was all people would come out, and he had some really cool events, and he's got some really cool stories. Yeah, I think it would be awesome to see him on. And then definitely it would be one that I would tune into for sure. And then third, I do have a third one. I was actually, I don't know if you've seen Voyager Overland, their YouTube videos. Yes. They got some pretty cool stories. I think they would be a good one to have on as well.
Definitely. I've watched Cappy's videos, and yeah, like you say, I think he's got a lot of stories. I think you're right on that. And Kevin from High Riders, that's what I hadn't thought about. I know Kevin. I actually personally met him, but I know of him. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a great idea. So definitely gonna add him to the list for sure. And Voyager Overland, that's another great choice for sure. That's one of the reasons we ask this question at the end, is just because Trish and I only know so many people. And you've just named off 3 people that would be excellent guests on the podcast, right?
Especially Kevin, because he has some pretty amazing stories. He's been doing 4x4 events for a long time.
Yeah. And his events, these are the hardcore, like Trisha, they're the hardcore style events. So what we did with Kyle from Axle Busters a little while ago, and same idea with the bigger rigs and the hardcore wheeling events. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got another one for you.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I was going through all of your episodes. I don't think you've had them on. Eric from Brink Fabrication.
I was wondering if you were going to mention him because I know you've got a good relationship with him, and I would love to have Eric on as well too. Yeah.
He's got some amazing stories as well. Obviously, I went down to King of the Hammers with him, and the stuff that they have to do to get ready for the hardest race in the world is what it's termed and billed as. It was pretty awesome. So this last year, I don't know if you followed him at all. Yeah. He started at basically last of the pack because he didn't get to qualify. And he ended up, I think it was 16th or 17th.
Yeah, it was something really impressive. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to think, most people who enter King of the Hammers don't finish.
Yeah.
They don't finish. And he ended up going all the way up. And he said it was the most fun he's had in so much time because he was just weaving around people. And he said it was an absolute blast. So
King of the Hammers is an event that I want to attend. I'm not a huge rock crawling person, but just the whole atmosphere of this event down there. It sounds like so much fun.
It
is
like
fun. It is also you have to watch where you're driving. And because there's like people crossing the desert at gazillion miles an hour in every direction. There's crashes out there all the time. Yeah, you have to watch what you're doing out there. But to see the vendors that are out there, to experience, you can go and drive some of these trails and everything. And like when I took my Jeep down there, it was a lot of fun. We went a few places that were, I've never done deep sand before. Not like that. Yeah. I've been out to Brule and whatnot, and there's sand and everything, but deep sand like that is a totally different driving method. And I learned like real quick how to get stuck. So, your winches don't help you down there.
It sounds like such a fun event.
Experience.
It's a blast. 100% it's a blast. It's worth going to, definitely, for an experience and to watch the competitors. Like on a lot of the stuff that they do, trophy trucks are 100% one of the best watches ever. So they'll get out there and they're just giving her across the desert, and they'll have helicopters in front of them spotting everything just to make sure that they know what's coming. And then they'll show it live on the Jumbotron, usually right at the center of Hammertown. So everyone comes down to the Jumbotron to watch the races and stuff. And then was it the 4700? No. I can't remember. Anyways, the Volkswagen Bugs.
Oh, yeah.
They get out there and they race. Yeah, that's a fun one to watch, too. Because you would think, being a vehicle that you don't really see a lot of body panels for anymore, and they give her, man. They get out there and they give her. They're rubbing fenders, and it's a fun watch. It's a really good watch.
Yeah, they've got I remember when it started, I guess it's almost got to be 20 years now that it started, and how it's just the rock crawling and a little bit of racing, and it's just exploded into everything else. So, you've got all the quad classes now, and side by sides and stuff like that. Yeah. So, it's pretty wild event. So, once again, we're talking to Jason from Overland Alberta, as well as the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo and Trails for Tommorrow. Check them out at Overland Alberta on YouTube and Instagram, as well as the Facebook group. And of course, the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo, or with the show notes with links to everything for that, as well as the Trails for Tommorrow. Again, I got to commend you guys for all your volunteer work on that as well, too, because a great cause that you guys are working with there. But once again, thanks, Jason, for coming on tonight. Really appreciate you spending your time tonight with us. And I know we could end up sitting here talking for another hour.
Absolutely.
For sure, yeah.
But thank you for coming on tonight, and look forward to seeing you soon again in person.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
That totally came out wrong. Seeing you again soon in person. There we go.
Me as well. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll share some beers, some of those stouts, and go from there. So beautiful. Thanks again.
It's awesome. Thanks for having me.